Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. A lot of good football games yesterday. Gators losing basketball to Xavier. They play, I think, today at around 3 o'clock Eastern time. They play, I believe, Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, the Egg Bowl was phenomenal last night. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll get on the tight number, our hotline, and we're joined by Brent Beaird. We'll have JC in the second portion of the program, get his thoughts, and also do our Peachland Dental picks. Good morning, Brent. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, my man.
I did. Happy Thanksgiving weekend to everyone. A lot of food and football and family, so we're grateful for all three. But yes, it was an eventful night last night. 12 games on today and even more tomorrow.
Yep, it's a good time, no question about it. Well, let's jump right into it. First of all, Brent, we'll talk about the Egg Bowl a little bit later, but the playoff committee's come out. Anything surprise you, or are you upset about anything?
No. I mean, I still think this will be able to figure itself out by this weekend, and certainly by next weekend. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan will be playing. We've got the TCU, who almost lost last week but didn't, or able to get the field goal unit on the field. LSU, A&M still matters. Keep your eye on Southern Cal. Also, you've got Bama and Clemson 8 and 9. Now, this is a very important point here. The lowest ranked teams at this point of the season to make the playoffs were number 7, Oklahoma, 19, number 7, Georgia, and 17, number 6, Oklahoma, and 18, and number 6, Ohio State, and 14. So if history is any indication, Shane, if you're looking for what is the lowest ranked team to make the playoffs at this point of the season, that's 4 of them who were ranked 7 and 6.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. A lot of it, we'll know a lot by Saturday night. I mean, if USC can beat Notre Dame, they're still in the mix. Obviously, TCU and Iowa State, and both teams still have to play their conference championship game. So still a lot out there. Brent, today there's a big game in the American Athletic Conference between Tulane and Cincinnati. I haven't followed it closely. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but obviously the winner of this, I think, hosts the championship game in their ballpark. Who will they be playing? Is it one of these deals like it was, I think, last year, that these two teams play again next week, or no?
Yeah. Now in the AAC, yes, Cincinnati and Tulane are both 6 and 1. And listen, as badly as Houston has played at times, they're 5 and 2, and UCF is 5 and 2. So that tells you how close they are. But yes, that's what it, because the AAC is not in divisions. It just they don't have divisions. And as you said, your top 2 teams, or Cincinnati and Tulane, with identical records of 6 and 1 and 9 and 2. So that's clearly who you've got with that. And just for giggles, SMU's 4 and 3 and 6 and 5, and Memphis is 4 and 4 and 6 and 5. So but again, certainly congrats to Cincinnati for continuing to win as they'd gotten the playoffs last year. And then obviously Tulane is having frankly, a tremendous year and deserve a lot of credit.
Yes, they do. We got a couple of comments here on Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law. Andy says the Rebels' rushing offense was missing in action last night. Give credit to Mississippi State, and their defense was phenomenal. Phenomenal. John says the Bills-Lions game was phenomenal. Lions were playing for the tie. You just can't leave Josh Allen anytime. You can't. He's ridiculous. And we'll talk more about those pro games later in the program. All right, Brent, there's word out there that Bill O'Brien is the number one choice for Georgia Tech. Is that what you're hearing? And if so, who does Alabama go after as an OC?
That's a great question. They're playing the cards pretty close to the vest there, but that is my understanding too. Now, to his credit, Brent Key has done a really nice job also with Georgia Tech in that they are playing much better, I think, than people even thought that they might be. But I can tell you this, that the Alabama staff is probably going to be overhauled, and I think Pete Golding is going to. But that's basically what I've heard from 2 or 3 sources, is that Bill O'Brien is going to have to tell Georgia Tech no. But that's going to be. I can tell you this: whoever Nick Saban gets next will be considerably more creative than Bill O'Brien has been for Alabama this year.
Also in coaching news, there's a lot of openings out there and Dion's name's being thrown around, but there's a couple of issues off the field that could keep him from getting one of these jobs. Yeah,
and I give Brett McMurphy credit for this. And again, this is nothing nefarious on Dion. But there were, and the point he brings up is, if people may or may not remember this, but there were multiple academic financial issues that involved Dion's Prime Prep Academy, and I don't remember all the details with that. I mean, he's trying to get that started, deserves credit for it. But things like this come up with university presidents that may be asking questions about that, is a point that Brett McMurphy was making here. Now, Dion's been mentioned for the South Florida job and the Colorado jobs. Look, and there, his name's mentioned a little bit with Auburn. He's not going to Auburn. And frankly, for his sake, and Shane as a coach, I know you can appreciate this. At some point, you've got to really get experience on the Division I level before you jump into the shark-infested waters of the SEC. And I think if he goes to a Colorado or USF, where there's a lot less pressure, you can make mistakes and you can learn as you go. And I think Dion will be fine one day as a Division I head coach. But at some point, Shane, don't you need experience? And if you can go and get that somewhere, Lane Kiffin did this same thing at some point after he did with Alabama. So watch that closely. His name will be mentioned. He will recruit. He will get talent. But the reality is, can you do the overall job, Shane? And that's to me, that's the big question for him.
Yeah. Speaking of Lane, Dan says he read, we're the only ranked team that Lane Kiffin's teams have ever beaten at Tennessee, USC, or FAU was Oregon in 2011. And he never beat a playoff team when he was the Raiders coach too. That's interesting.
It is.
That's why I picked Mississippi State to win the game, because I thought they were the better football team going into the game. Yes. Because Ole Miss had not played anybody. If you looked at Ole Miss' schedule when they were sitting at 7-0 or whatever it was, they hadn't beaten anybody. And they're going to end up 8-4. I don't know if Lane is going to still be their coach, but I like Lane. I like what he does. I think he's great. The players really play hard for him. But boy, he made some more bonehead decisions last night that cost his team.
Yeah, he really did. And look, that's a valid point. And a lot of folks have brought that up. That as good as he is, no, they really haven't beaten anyone this year, and that there's a good point to that. I mean, they played Troy and Central Arkansas, Georgia Tech, and Tulsa. They've beaten Kentucky by a field goal, Vanderbilt, and then you've got your SEC teams too. But to Shane's point, I mean, they particularly the 2-point conversion is where he's gotten criticism. They didn't use their timeouts. Then they used basically 2 in a row. I'm curious if you noticed that. I'm sure you did. And then ran a play that no one really had any trouble defending at that point either. So look, and one thing you mentioned a minute ago that really needs to be brought up. Zach Cornett is the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State, and he has done an incredible job. And they're going to be it's going to be tough to keep him, frankly. So it's good. There's no doubt. And all coaches are this way. It's just the way it is. But when you're kind of a gambler and a risk taker like Lane is, some of these are going to work. Some of them aren't. And unfortunately, the 2-point play was an example of that.
Well, but the biggest play to me where he made a mistake was they were up 9-7 in the game and had a 27-yard field goal attempt.
Yeah.
To go up 12-7, which the way the game was going, you knew it wasn't going to be high scoring and weather was coming in. To go up by 5, I thought was huge, but he went for it and didn't make it.
Good point.
Before we move into the SEC, Brent, Jaleel Billingsley is no longer with Texas. Man, I tell you what, he's a prime example of guys that I saw in the NFL or in college football that were so talented, but for whatever reason, whether it was attitude, who knows? Just it's amazing where he's not going to make it, and wasted talent.
He started in Alabama, and his freshman year, and basically his first year at Alabama, he was. I mean, he looked like he was going to be Brock Bowers. I mean, he looked that good, and then. His sophomore year really didn't do anything. He dropped way too many passes. So they let him go to Texas, and he thought he would go to greener pastures, and he's no longer with the program. So the problem is now you have a chance in Alabama, you have a chance at Texas, 2 high-profile Division I schools, and you don't make it. So hopefully somewhere along the line, Billingsley will find himself and be able to do what he wants to do, which I'm sure is play the NFL, but he's certainly taken the wrong route to get that done.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan More Hotline. All right, Brent, jumping into the lead, we got the Iron Bowl. What do you see? How do you see this game playing out with Cadillac rolling into Tuscaloosa with Auburn?
Well, a lot of this game is going to be Alabama's got the better roster by far. Now, does that mean that they're going to win? No, not necessarily. Now, what Auburn's done, and they deserve a lot of credit for this. I don't know why Brian Harsin was not able to figure this out. But what they do well is they run the ball. Now, they don't throw the ball real well with Robbie Ashford, but they run the ball with Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter. And you mentioned this months ago, Shane, that if they ever figured out that they could run the ball, that they would be very good, and that's what they've done. So how good is the Alabama rushing defense going to be? Auburn's ran for almost 800 yards in 3 games. A lot of this is going to be determined. Now this sounds strange to say, but if you watched Alabama this year, you will get this. This game will be determined how motivated and focused Alabama will be to play their rival, and that's the game in a nutshell, frankly. And it's amazing, and it's an indictment on this season to even have to say that, but it is the truth in the game. So, and Bama's lost a couple players over the last day or two to the portal. Kyrie Jackson is a defensive back they thought was going to be very good, but he'd been suspended, so he's in the portal. Trey Sanders, a running back who had an ACL, and then he had a bad car wreck and came back, but he's going in to the transfer portal as a grad transfer, so wishing him well for that. But at the same time, there will be this will be I think, a very good game. Auburn's playing extremely well, and one of the biggest things is for Alabama is the game's in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, it is. I got a couple of YouTube comments here I got to read. This is from Mike. He says, quote, Shane, this is me talking. Look, I'm always right. You can have an opinion, but I'm always right. Napier's never wrong, and he's not responsible just because he picks who his assistant coaches and who plays and who calls the plays. Look, Napier's never wrong. No. It's always the player's fault. Mike, I don't know what the hell show you're listening to, but I've never said any of that.
Right.
And you obviously have never played sports or been in a locker room or coached or done anything. Don't know where you're coming up with that. And then this gentleman here on Facebook Live says, we have a top 12 talent on this team via 24/7 sports. It's all on coaching. Well, I don't know if we have top 12 talent. I don't believe everything 24/7, how they grade them. But again, if you want to go back to the Vanderbilt game, 4 plays cost us the game. Not one of those 4 had anything to do with coaching. They were mental and physical penalties, unsportsmanlike penalties, and a fumble punt. So, like I said, people might as well get on the Billy Napier bandwagon, whether you like him or not. If you have issues with, he is not going anywhere, people.
No.
4, 5, 6 years. If he goes anywhere, he's going to be taking another job because somebody's offered him. I'm just telling y'all that. So for these gentlemen that listen on YouTube, I appreciate you listening, but those are your opinions. But I think they're not correct. They're incorrect. And so anyway, let's see what else we got here, Brent. Brent, am I wrong about Billy Napier's not going anywhere?
No, he's not. He's not. Look, this administration likes him. They like his they like his vision. They like what he's trying to get done. And you can't do everything you want to do in your first year. That's just the way that it is. This is going to be a very different roster next year. But look, and I'll say it like this. Let's just pretend here, and this is not going to happen, but let's just pretend that he was leaving. I guarantee you he would have more job offers than people could ever imagine. He is that well thought of in the coaching ranks and also with ADs and presidents.
Yeah, there's no question. And again, I try to tell people, I predicted us back in July, August that we would go 6-6. I said if we go 7-5, he should be up for Coach of the Year. I don't know what these people are thinking, but that's their opinion, and they have every right to say that. But don't be texting the show, putting words in my mouth that I did not say. All right, huge game here for the Missouri Tigers. I think they're going to win this game, Brent. They're hosting Arkansas. They win. They go to a bowl game. Obviously, Arkansas is a different team when KJ Jefferson plays.
Yeah, and when he does, they're very, very good. And again, this is a 3:30 game on CBS today. In the Ole Miss win, Jefferson, to your point, 17 of 22 for 168, ran for almost 50 Rocket Sanders, 232 yards. Now, this is important. Quinton Junkins last night in the Egg Bowl had 91 yards. This means that Rocket Sanders needs 96, and he'll probably get it, to win the SEC regular season rushing title. Now, you don't give that away. That's a tremendous by Rocket Sanders. But, again, to Shane's point, Arkansas also can be very inconsistent. There's several SEC teams who are. Missouri's defense has not had a takeaway in the last two games, so that's going to be important for this game. They have given, if people miss this, Eli Drinkwith a contract renewal, so he's going to be around for a while. Brady Cook's been pretty steady, so that's going to be a really good game this afternoon. Yes.
Yeah. Gators play tonight. And when did they start calling this game the Sunshine Showdown?
I think that's just more of a the TV needed something. I don't really. If you ask anybody about this game, that little. I mean, we know what the Iron Bowl is, but if you ask them about what's the nickname of Florida State, I don't think a lot of people would come up with the Sunshine Showdown.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. All right, so how do you see this game playing out, Brent? I know FSU's had a really good year. They've played well the last few weeks. I personally don't see it in Florida State. I think Florida has a very good chance of winning this game tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, unfortunately, with the wide receivers who won't play, that's going to be a problem. So you've got a lot of guys who are going to have to step up. Again, Florida's number, in my mind, is if you run for 210 yards or more, you're going to win. They're undefeated with that. Less than that, and they don't. So the big thing here is going to be is Florida's rush defense. Florida State averaging 5.6 yards a carry. You run twice, you got a first down. So that's going to be very big for them. I give FSU a lot of credit. Shane and I said at the beginning of the year, if they win a lot of these 50-50 games, they would have a nice year. They have. They're 8-3, could be 9-3 also. But they are, Florida also has got to defend with the explosive plays. FSU leads the country with 80 plays, 20-plus yards. But look, or is this FSU team a great team? No. But the thing they've done is they've gathered themselves to the point where, again, they've won a lot of these toss-up games. They play in a conference that, let's be honest, is not very good. And to their credit, they've taken advantage of that. So, to Shane's point, this could be very much a fourth quarter battle, and I would agree that Florida would have a chance to win in fourth quarter.
Yeah, Charlie says on Facebook Live, they've used the Sunshine Showdown for quite a while now. He's never liked it. Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it. Well, I mean, I've heard of it, I guess. I don't know why I paid attention to it now. Chris asked, where's Whittemore? Whittemore went into the transfer portal a couple of weeks ago and left the team. We do have some guys that are in the transfer portal but still playing, but he decided to go ahead and leave the program. Real quick, Brent, a couple other rivalry games, touch on Kentucky and Louisville. This is a big game for both programs. Louisville's playing good football right now.
They are. They have been able to kind of resurrect their season. Part of it's their defense. They lead the nation in sacks, tackles for loss, which makes a big difference. Now, they don't know about Malik Cunningham. Will he be playing? Their quarterback, who really is good, Brock Doman, stepped in last week, and he was okay. Now, again, the thing for Kentucky, by the way, Mark Stoops has a new extension. He deserves that. I still think that they haven't had quite the year they wanted to have, we thought they'd have, but they still have done well. And again, to me, it comes down to their offensive line. Their offensive line's played terrible this year. They can't protect Will Levis. So, Shane, how well they protect Levis will determine if they win this game or not.
And then Georgia Tech's going to be a bloodbath, in my opinion. But an interesting game. If Vanderbilt beats Tennessee at home, they're going to go bowling. Joe Milton's now the quarterback. That offense is not even close to being the same with Joe Milton. Do you think Vanderbilt has a chance?
The way Vandy's played as of late, I think they probably do. Now, Joe Milton has probably in garbage time gained a lot of everybody's talked this week about he's got 6 completions of 40 yards or more. Well, I still think that's because of the competition, and Shane's right, he's nowhere near as accurate as Hendon Hooker. Vandy with now look, Vandy's not a great team, we know that, but at the same time, in the games at Vanderbilt, which might make a difference too. This Ray Davis kid at running back was impressive against Florida. Also, so yeah, I think they've got more than a puncher's chance. Now I'll say this too, and we need to remember this for bowl games. Is the APR, if they don't have enough bowl teams, a team like Vanderbilt, who has had for them a really nice year, could get into a bowl game because of their APR, their academic standing. So and I'll be honest with you, that it will be fun to see Vandy in a bowl game because Clark Lee overall has done a nice job this year for any Vanderbilt team to be 5-6.
Yes, I agree. Real quick, we just got a text before we let you go. I don't know who this is from. It says, Shane asked Brent if he believes Charles Barkley's prediction will come true. He said that there will be a surprise firing in the SEC and that school will hire Dion. Texas A&M?
Yeah, I've heard that. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. I'll be brief about this. I still think Dion needs to go to a non-SEC school and get the head coaching experience that he needs. I think he'll be fine eventually, but man, oh man, it's just hard to start in this league without any Division I experience and end up doing well. So I'm going to say no to that. And I know, and again, Barkley said that a little bit earlier. Let me say real quick, South Carolina, Clemson is drawing a lot of attention because South Carolina beat Tennessee. But again, Tennessee's defense is not very good. And South Carolina beat writers would tell you that they don't handle success well at all. And I'd be very surprised if they're able to get up mentally and be able to beat Clemson, even though that's their rival. So if they win two games in a row, that will be incredibly impressive. And I mentioned this to Shane earlier off the air, that and we can debate this later with our listeners, but the college football, when we expand the playoffs, one of the options that we've seen is they're going to move the season up a week, which means we're going to begin the season on the week 0. Everybody's going to start then. Now, here's how this affects this week. Now, and this would take some real adjustment on a lot of our parts, but if we do that, the rivalry games like Florida and Florida State would be played the weekend before Thanksgiving. And the weekend after Thanksgiving would be for the championship games of the conferences. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's one of the things I've seen that's been talked about as a possibility, because, Shane, when we institute the playoff expansion, the calendar is going to have to change one way or another, and that's one way that it might happen.
Yeah, that means no Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. So I don't know if I like that, but it's not up to us. Brent, great stuff as always. Appreciate your time, and we will talk to you next week, my man.
Good. Always enjoy it, Shane. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take a timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by JC. We'll get his thoughts on NFL action yesterday, and then we'll do our Peachland Dental picture. Watching and listening to Pot Up Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, International Diamond Center, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Wawa, the Gadget Guys, and the HBC's restaurant. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now selling head beer, Coach American Lager, and draft in 16-ounce cans at Spurrier's, Visors, Gator Games, and select stores across Gainesville. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Now we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by JC, who's out in the Big D. Went and enjoyed his Cowboys victory yesterday. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Oh, good, man. It was a great day yesterday. A little rainy, but the place was rocking. 90,000 fans. Thanksgiving in Dallas, just like in Detroit, it's a tradition. You do it every year, and those fans were all about it. It was a good game, and Dallas has got themselves in position to at least get a wild card and perhaps steal the division if Philly can slip up, and then they'll have to beat Philly. But we'll see.
Yeah, really good football yesterday. I had a bunch of people talk about here, why aren't the Lions ever good? I think the Lions are a very good team this year. This is year 2 under Dan Campbell. Jared Goff's been playing great. They kind of butchered the end of the game, but they're a team you do not want to play. But boy, the Buffalo Bills, not playing good football, but they find ways to win. And that was a heck of a game.
Yeah.
The Vikings game last night was a heck of a game. I'm surprised, JC, before we get into our picks and all that stuff. Nobody's commented on my screenshot or whatever it's called, the screensaver.
It's classic. There goes Renegade, and off goes Osceola, and I mean, but that looks like it was at a bowl game of some sort right there. That doesn't look like Doak Campbell in the background.
No, it looks like it's down. You know what it looks like? It's down in Miami somewhere.
Miami or Orlando, maybe. Yeah, it's one of those neutral site games. But there he goes. Listen, I think they've had a great year. To their, based on what we've seen out of them the last 3-4 years, they're looking at 9 wins and a pretty good bowl game. So, Norvell, what is this, 3rd year now? So,
no. I think it's more than that, isn't it? Maybe it is his 3rd. You're right. It's his 3rd year.
Is it 3rd? Okay. So I mean, this is about the timetable that I'm thinking for Florida too, folks. I mean, look at what's happened at FSU, and I don't know why it would be much more different in terms of timetable than Florida. Year 3 should be, exactly what he's hoping for in terms of roster and, scheduling. It will hopefully work out better. I think this was a tough schedule for Florida this year. If you look at those SEC games, A&M was down this year, but man, tough schedule. Even though they had 6 of the first 7 games at home, I still think it was challenging for Florida. And this is a tough road game, man. No two ways about it.
Chris asked again on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, why would Whittemore leave in the middle of the season? He was a second stringer and would be starting now. Well, He's in the portal. He's going to be a January enrollee at his next institution, which is they kind of know where that's going to be. Look, it's his decision. Wasn't getting to play
Mississippi State.
Yeah. So
speaking of Mississippi State, QB, how about the Egg Bowl, man? I tell you that in just a swamp conditions, rain everywhere, and those two teams played it hard out there. I was glad to see the Egg return to Starkville. I love your shirt, dude. I mean,
well, I'm wearing it in honor of my daughter. You know, I grew up an Ole Miss guy, but you know, I've had a bunch of people text us stuff, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. I saw his press conference. I watched it on Twitter, and I just don't know how that guy can come out in another press conference and say, I'm the new Auburn coach after the things that he said. Now, we know coaches do crazy stuff and don't care about line and all that. But I just don't – I don't know how he's going to – I don't think he's going to leave now. But here's the thing, and I think it was Dan. Do you realize that ever since Lane's been a head coach, whether it was USC, Tennessee, or FAU, he's only beaten one ranked team at any of those schools, and that was in 2011 against Oregon at USC.
I did not know that.
And when he was coach of the Raiders, they never beat a playoff team.
No.
So we all love what Lane does. We think he's great and all. But JC, if he kicks the field goal when it's 9-7 and make it 12-7, that game, just the way the game was going, I don't know what he was thinking, but give Mississippi State a ton of credit.
Yeah. 8-4.
Their defense was outstanding last night.
It was their safeties played great. They had a pass rush. And you know, I think they just looked like the team that wanted it a little bit more. 24-22 was the final score. You know, they fumbled the ball that could have made the score 31-15. I mean, they really did handle, I think, the game the way you would want to. Kind of a freak play there with Will Rogers fumbling the ball in the end zone when they could have just put it all away. But they held them on the 2-point conversion. I think Mississippi State at 8-4 has to be I think the fans there have to say, okay, you know what? Here we go again. Year 3 of Mike Leach. And Dick Vermeil said it. He said it takes a coach 2 to 3 years. Now, I know the conditions in college football have changed dramatically with the transfer portal and NIL, so forth. But QB, it's 3 years, man. It's 3 years. 8-4 is a good record for Mississippi State.
8-4 for both of those schools is outstanding. Now, Mississippi State's 8-4 is way harder than what Ole Miss's 8-4 was.
Right.
So anyway,
they have Georgia on the schedule. They have Alabama on the schedule. Typically, Auburn is a better team. So it was not easy. A road trip to Kentucky. It's a good year. I think 8-4 gets them into the Music City Bowl or something like that, and those fans are loving it. What else do they want? I think that's exactly what you're paying for at Mississippi State.
Okay, hang on. I got to respond to this. People are talking about Whittemore with his dad being a coach. Can't believe his son quit. Look, he made a choice.
To play. The kid wants to play football. Yeah. Why do we care? He's not a factor on this roster. Let him go and have a career somewhere. Let him have a year, just one. Give him a break already, for God's sakes. I mean, the kid wants to play football. Why does anybody care? Let him go.
But then somebody says they heard that he just cleared out his locker and left without the coaches knowing. That is not true. I know that for a fact. They sat down and discussed it. I do know that. All right, JC, what kind of games you got picked out? First of all, how was the Cowboys game yesterday?
The Cowboys game, again, it was tremendous. 90,000 fans. The weather was terrible, but they have facilities around the stadium that allow fans to comfortably pregame, if you will, and eat and drink and have a good time. Lots of room, lots of parking. It's very easy to get in and out of here. Arlington's kind of off the beaten path a little bit. Takes a while to get down there. It's in the southwest portion of town past the airport, but it's a great venue. It's a wonderful, comfortable place to watch a football game. And the team is right now, I think, 2 games behind Philadelphia. With one, they get to play them one time. The Cowboys are going to be in the playoffs. The question is, will they host a game or will they have to play as a wild card? That's what we're looking at.
And I see you bought you a TCU hat while you were there.
The Frogs, beat Iowa State, go 12-0. Sonny Dykes, coach of the year potentially, and they'll be the Big 12 regular season champion. They'll play Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. If they beat Iowa State and they beat Kansas State, assuming Kansas State beats Kansas, then they will win the Big 12 and be a 3 seed in the Final Four. If they lose to Iowa State and Texas beats whoever they're playing, then Texas will go to the Big 12 championship.
Isn't that crazy that there's a chance that TCU could not even play in their championship game with the seasons they've had?
TCU is going to play the championship game.
Texas would take Kansas State's spot.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. It gets very confusing at times. All right, what games do you have lined up for us on the Peachland Dental? Gator Nation's number 1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas.
Well, here we are. It's rivalry weekend, QB, it's amazing.
Well, first of all, let me let everybody know that you went 4-0 on Thanksgiving Day. I went 3-1. So you sit at 72-65, and I sit at 65-72.
Okay. I think, that's not a bad – looking at what everybody's record is on the handicapping of games this season at all the major publications, QB.
Do you follow those people?
I watch it. I look at Stuart Mandel. I look at Bruce Feldman. And really everybody's at or below 500. And here we are hovering around that, and I'm slightly above it. So I just think that, it's been a tough year, but it's still, positive. Baylor is playing Texas. We mentioned Texas a minute ago. This game is in Austin. They're getting 9. Baylor's got 2 straight losses to lick their wounds from, but that's a lot of points. I still think, though, that it's going to be a closer game than you think. I want to take Texas. I think they're really good at home, but I hate laying the 9, but I'm going to do it anyway. Texas.
All right. I'll take, just to be different, I'm going to take Baylor. Okay. I think I have not watched Baylor play one down of football this year.
Yeah.
I thought they were supposed to be pretty good defensively. I'm going to still believe that they can keep the game close.
Well, and that's what they're hoping for. Now, the weather's going to be pretty nasty. It looks like rain all throughout Texas tomorrow. Arkansas laying 4 at Missouri. This is a border war game. It's a big deal to those folks in those states. Missouri's been, I think, a disappointment. They should have won more games than they did, found ways to lose games, but they're not terrible. Arkansas is Arkansas. Whatever that means. I'm going to go ahead and take Arkansas -4 at Missouri.
I'm going to take the Missouri Tigers. Okay. It's a good, weird place to play.
Yeah.
Arkansas is not a great team. Missouri wins. They go to a bowl game. I like the Tigers.
So the team that we saw at the Swamp and the regular season, the home regular season, was South Carolina. And they looked completely out of sync and didn't know what they were doing with the football. And then last week they looked like they could beat anybody. They are getting 14.5 upstate, if you will, in Clemson. And I'm sorry, but Clemson offensively is challenged in my mind. I think if Rattler could just keep the ball from being turned over, South Carolina easily covers the 14.5. I'm taking them.
All right. I will take the Clemson Tigers. You take South Carolina.
Laying 14.5 QB. Wow. That's a big
Dude,
number.
Let me tell you something. They're going to shut down.
South Carolina.
People read too much into I told you the first time after I got back from Knoxville, Tennessee, that Tennessee defense was one of the worst I've ever seen. Okay. Clemson has a damn good defense. I will take the Tigers. Real quick, John says on Facebook Live, JC's picks is why you don't bet on football. JC's actually got some good picks. 72-65 is very good.
I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, I'm above 500. This has been a tough year. Try it yourself. Yep. Let's go with LSU -10 at Texas A&M. I would have thought this line would be higher, but Texas A&M is going to have a chain. It's their home finale. I don't know why I feel this way with Georgia coming up next week. I don't want to say it's a look ahead, but LSU's already locked it up. They can't afford to lose this game because they still have a chance at the playoff. Yes, they do. And that's what the committee told us Tuesday. So LSU laying 10 is too many. I know A&M sucks, but they're the home team, and I want the 10 points. Give me Texas A&M.
I'm doing the same thing. I don't know why. I don't know. Well, I'm not a believer in LSU.
You're not?
I just don't think they're that great of a team. And A&M is horrible, by the way. And I don't know how many. I think they've quit, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a monsoon and they fumble the ball a bunch.
Yeah, there will likely be rain. Tennessee is on the road. Your Vols that you don't like, laying 14 to the team you watched last week beat the Gators by a touchdown. And that's the Vanderbilt Commodores looking for their third. I mean, they're playing for bowl eligibility, bro. And the game, I think, is in Nashville. Not that that matters. But Vanderbilt's got a little momentum. I'm going to take the 14 points because, that's 2 touchdowns.
I'm telling you right now, Joe Milton.
Backup quarterback.
Milton ain't very good. I like Vandy too. Brandon says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Carolina isn't beating Clemson, JC. You didn't say that, did you?
I said they're going to get 14.5 and cover. I don't believe they will beat Clemson, but I believe if Rattler doesn't turn the ball over, that's a closer game than you think. Look, Syracuse almost handled Clemson. Clemson is okay record-wise, but there's a lot of flaws with that team.
There's more flaws with Gamecocks, trust me.
Well, there wasn't last week, and I'm hoping that momentum carries over.
Well, a lot of it had to do with that other team playing defense.
Let's go to the Iron Bowl here. This is a strange line to me. You got an Auburn team that's got a little energy going right now. I mean, let's face it, though. They beat a weak team last week, and they beat A&M by 3. They're catching 22.5 in Tuscaloosa. I think Alabama's going to kill this team. But I think 22.5 is asking for a lot.
Well, you just said they're going to kill them.
I think they will. I mean, if Alabama wins 44-28, which it won't, let's say 38-21. That's 17 points. That's not a cover. So that's still a good beat.
So you want Auburn plus 22?
Yeah.
I will take Alabama. I think Auburn's going to have trouble. They have no idea what the forward pass is right now with Cadillac.
No.
And I think Alabama wins easily.
Now we go out west. Pretty good games here, man. These are very important games to determine seeding and who's going to play next week. The Ducks are at the Beavers, bro, in what I call the Civil War. They called it, they changed the name for some political reason, but I don't care. It's the Civil War. And it's Oregon at Oregon State. Banged up Bo Nix. Oregon State gave USC all they wanted. And Caleb Williams, the great Caleb Williams. I like the Beavers. I want the 3 points. I think in Corvallis, they upset the Ducks. Give me Oregon.
I agree.
Oregon State. Okay, you like that one too. Down the road, you've got, let's go up the road. The Apple Cup. Now, if Washington beats Washington State, who's also been really good this year, if Washington wins and Oregon loses, Washington is your northern winner in the Pac-12 conference, and they would play Southern Cal next week. So Washington has a lot to play for other than just a cross-state rivalry. But they're laying 1.5 in Pullman, tough place, at the Palouse. I got to take Washington. I think Penix gets it done, but Washington State is no patsy at all.
Yeah, I like the Huskies. They could throw the football. Washington State never beats Washington, though.
Doesn't seem that way. A couple more here. Big game for Southern Cal to keep their aspirations alive in the college football playoff. They've already clinched the Pac-12 South. They are laying 5 to Notre Dame at home. I think the Irish are going to keep this ugly somehow and keep it inside of 5. So I'm going to take Notre Dame. I know you're taking USC. I know you are. So
I think USC can lose this game because of their defense. But I'm going to take the Trojans because I'm a big Caleb Williams guy, and I think he can take over a game. So I'll take the Trojans.
Well, and the thing with USC is that they need to win this game. They need to win their conference. They'll then try to make a claim for the Final Four, which I think they would have clearly. That doesn't mean they get.
They're going to get. They're going to get in if they run the table.
If they run the Pac-12, but it doesn't mean they're going to pick where they play. And I've heard so many people say it's a lock that USC will play in Glendale. It is not a lock. It's very easily.
Wouldn't you love to see USC have to travel to play the Dogs in Atlanta?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And they're going to be the 4 seed and have to go across the country to play Georgia in Atlanta. And I would say, good luck to you. You're going to get murdered.
I would love to see that game though, because I would love to see Caleb Williams play against that Georgia defense.
That would be fun. But here's the thing: I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, Addison's okay, but they'll lock him down. And here's the crazy thing I heard, and you're going to just call total BS on this. Some guy on the radio who's in Vegas, who's pretty prominent with Vegas Sports and Information, or Stats and Information Network, said that Georgia, if they were to lose to LSU and USC runs the table, would not make the playoffs based on their record this year, and not record, but schedule. And USC would then get a game in Glendale, and that's when I turned it off because I didn't even want to hear why. but I can't imagine. But think about that for a minute. If Georgia were to lose to LSU, LSU's in. All right. Then you've got Southern Cal, let's say they would be in. You'd have TCU, they would be in. And then Ohio State or Michigan would be in. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
I mean, it's possible, but I just USC has to worry about beating Notre Dame and then winning the Pac-12. And with their defense, they have serious issues, I'm telling you.
All right, then the big game of the day tomorrow to determine the Big Ten, in my mind, the Big Ten champion, because the winner gets to play the Iowa Hawkeyes in all likelihood in Indianapolis, which is hard to believe that would even be a scenario, but it is because of how bad the Big Ten West is. Michigan is catching 8. Now, there's questions with Blake Corum. And I'm sure Brent Beaird talked about this at length, so I won't drag it on. But Michigan without Corum and with that quarterback who is not their original starter, I cannot see them beating Ohio.
That is their original. J.J. McCarthy is their starter.
Oh, he's been there the whole year? I thought he's hurt.
No, he's been there the whole year.
Oh, I'm thinking. Doesn't matter to me. I don't know why I was thinking McNamara, but he's gone. Michigan getting 8 does a lot. But without that running back, forget it. They're not scoring many points on Ohio State.
Yeah, I think Ohio State wins easily, quite honestly.
It's a revenge game from last year. They've been waiting for this. They've really had nothing to get excited about in the Big Ten on those two teams. Their schedules are so bad that non-conference and otherwise, that this is really the only game that they've really had to get challenged by, I think, even though they've played some close games. I think Ohio State wins. You want me to do the 3 NFL games real quick?
Oh, yeah, do those real quick.
Tampa Bay laying 3.5 at Cleveland. I like the way the Bucs played in Germany.
I'll take the Browns.
Of course you will. Baltimore.
Who did you take?
Oh, I'm taking Tampa. Absolutely. They'll beat Cleveland. Baltimore laying 3.5 to Jacksonville. I'm going to take Jacksonville.
It's in Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's down there in Jacksonville.
I'll take the Jags.
Okay. And then the Dolphins, some are saying have the best offense. Well, statistically they do. But the Dolphins are laying 14 to Houston. NFL game is hard to cover all those points. But in this case, with Houston's problems on offense, I think Miami can do it. So I'm going to take Miami.
All right, I'll take the 14 just to be different.
Okay. The Gators, by the way, folks, are catching 9.5 to 10 points in this game against Florida State. Rivalry game, I think Florida's going to play better. I think they cover. So we'll see.
Real quick before we get out of here, Frank sent a text on the Titanmore text line. Says the Gator basketball team does not seem to have any chemistry. I hope they develop some soon. Yeah, we'll talk more about that Monday. They lost. Alabama had a big win over Michigan State.
I like the conference this year, dude. I know it's.
I think Arkansas is the best team in the conference from what I've seen.
They could be, but there's some damn good teams. Tennessee's good. Kentucky's good. Alabama looked good last night with Michigan State, even though Michigan State was missing a few players. LSU's down at Patsy. I kind of like. I mean, Mississippi State gets after you on defense with that new coach they brought in from New Mexico State. So I think we're gonna have quite a nice looking conference. Auburn's going to be Auburn. 6, 7 teams, maybe 5 or 6, 5, 6 or 7 teams in the tournament this year.
All right, real quick, Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind, our promise. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports, which is brought to you by Comfort Temp. 1971. You know who won the Heisman Trophy in 1971, JC?
Johnny Rodgers.
That would be Pat Sullivan from Auburn.
Pat Sullivan. Auburn Tiger. And what is this, QB?
I don't know what that is.
I think I'm doing the horned frog.
No, you got to have your knuckles down, JC.
Oh shit! Like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, a horned frog going 12-0. The big game tomorrow, Fort Worth.
All right, JC, have a good trip. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see what happens.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight. Should be a good one. I think the Gators will play well. We'll recap it on Monday. Take care, folks.